everyone. My name is Casey, the Space Shaman. This is the Space Shaman, the YouTube channel dedicated to spreading the magic of spirituality and healing to the community of the world. Today we're having Shaman story time. So I did this once before where I kind of told the story of some of my shamanic journeys, and I had kind of wanted to do it more in the future, but had kind of fallen by the wayside. So I want to get back into this, and I really feel like it can help some people to hear some of these stories about the healings and the various adventures in spirit that I experience, because a lot of people have, if not similar experiences, have had things happen to them where they didn't really know what was going on, and it can really help to bring some clarity to hear the stories of others who may have a little bit more experience. So let me just put up a little banner here, and then we're just going to get started. We're going to jump right into story time. I just want to put this up. If you are interested in receiving a healing, have a question, or just want to share your experience, please comment. Let me know. So, entity removal. This is something I haven't really talked about on my channel before, because for some people it can create some kind of fear or something. But I want to clarify before I start getting into this story that entities and people that may have issues with entity attachment and this sort of thing, there are multiple ways that this can present itself. We can have our own self-created entities that, start out as thought forms and powerful emotions that get fueled through, thought loops and emotional loops and cycles, and then kind of take on a life of their own where these emotions seem to take over us and really seem to take on a life of their own to the point where we need help from a shaman or someone who's experienced with facilitating the release of that. There are also beings that we can enter into contracts with. Some of us, due to trauma, our spirits will reach out. So, for example, if you are a little kid and something happened to you and you felt very unsafe, as the little kid that you are, you may be thinking like, oh, help me, I just wish someone would come here and help me. Your spirit hears that as the infinite being that it is, and it will go out in search of help for someone. And sometimes you will commission some being that you found out there to attached to your body with you to help keep you safe. But over time that can kind of become burdensome. That being can start to feed on your heavy emotions, and this can cause some issues for people. So this is where if you are listening to this and this reaches you and resonates with you, that may mean that you are in the time and place where you're ready to move on from that. But even if you're not, that's totally perfect. So I have helped many people to heal from entity attachments, or whatever you'd like to call it. And I call it entity healing and not entity removal or entity like exorcism or anything like that, because these beings that we're working with, that we are trying to facilitate a change around, they are beings too. They are conscious living beings just like you and I are, and a lot of them have a lot of trauma and wounds, and that's why they act like this and can take advantage of some people's energy fields and all kinds of things. So we work to heal the entities within people, as well as the entities or as well as any issues within ourselves that may be causing us to hold on to such things. So it's really more of a healing than just like a removal, get out of here. We really work through forgiveness and letting go and bringing change and healing to both parties. I, in the past, have experienced powerful entity healings myself. I've had entity removals or healings myself, and they've always been very powerful, very pivotal, life-changing, and very freeing moments. But I had always had this sense that I was safe in my body and that nothing else really had control, but that there was something that needed facilitation. There was some kind of big shift that needed to happen. I always thought it was some kind of big soul retrieval that needed to happen, which played into it. But it wasn't clear to me that I had an ancient entity like a soul contract that I had gone into with an entity, until after I performed a very, very powerful entity healing for my partner. This is something that I had sensed she needed help with for a long time, and Spirit let it up. And if I'm working with a client and they come to me and say, "Hey, I need help," and right off the bat we'll go in if that's the really important thing that I feel like needs to be done. Sometimes we'll go straight into working with facilitating that release, that healing. But if it's a friend or a family member or partner or something like that, I know I have more time and I'm going to see this person more often, then I will slowly kind of wait. I'll observe and wait for the exact right moment for it to happen. And so this is what happened. So many things started to come up, and my partner's awareness, and I heard her talking about things, and she was going back further into old wounds and things that had happened in childhood, and I identified it, and I was seeing this thing coming to the surface. And it happened at the perfect timing. The way that Spirit brought it about was just so immensely perfect and beautiful. And it was really powerful. And it was after that, after someone I was so deeply connected with, after doing that, that it was brought to my awareness that I too was carrying an entity within my energy field, within my body. But I'd never been able to see it before. It was unclear to me. So I also had the awareness, though, that it wasn't there for my seeing. I wasn't allowed to see it because up until that point, I did not have the tools, the personal power. I had not done enough healing to be able to face it. And so that night, after I had that realization, I laid down and I entered into a journey space. And oftentimes, when I'm doing shamanic journeying, I'm in some kind of beautiful world, a beautiful forest, or some other planet, or just some really beautiful place. But this time, I knew I needed to be just surrounded by darkness and face this thing with the help of my guides, of course. So I laid down and brought myself into a very dark space where I could see and feel my body in that space, but it was just all darkness all around. And I felt the core of where this heaviness, where this tension, where this anxiety and all of this stuff lived, and that I presumed to be this thing that I needed to face. And I had the intention to project it outside of my body and see it. And at first, it was taking on different shapes. First, it kind of looked like a human being, but very kind of dark and twisted. And then it took on this big, scary, spiky, kind of crazy looking shape. And then I was trying to talk to it, to facilitate, to ask it questions, to bring more awareness and light into the situation. But it was like fighting back. It had a lot of anger and didn't want to let go. And then at one point, I remember it, as I was standing there talking to it, we were about the same height, and it grew to this massive, massive size to try and intimidate me, to get me to back off from what I was doing. And I was like, oh no, this isn't going to fly. So I took on my angel form that I travel in spirit, and I became like as large as the galaxy. And just look at this thing, and I was like, we can play this game all day. And then we shrunk back down to the size that we're more used to being. And then the facilitation started. And it was kind of a back and forth. At first, I would ask questions. I was trying to figure out, like, wow, where did we first come into a contract? What happened that we decided to enter into this contract together? And it wouldn't even give way to that. And then I called on the help of my angels, my gods and goddesses, and nature spirits. They were all there to facilitate. And then we finally came to the awareness. I had the memory where it first happened. And it was when I first came to this earth, my spirit was fragmented into thousands of pieces and incarnate in thousands of bodies. And I did not expect to come here. Many beings choose to come here. Most beings choose to come here of their own volition. I was one that did not. I was sent here by another being in a battle that happened eons and eons ago. But I came, and when I was inhabiting the first body, the first physical body, I was incarnate. I was very uncomfortable, felt very unsafe, and a being who had a similar past to me in spirit, far, far back, before my time in the Alliance, before my time with the Angels, the being that I was, the very unhealed, wounded being that I was, but very powerful, a being that shared a similar past to that was also just sent to Earth at that time. And we decided, hey, we're both very strong, we're powerful beings, we share somewhat of a similar past. Let's enter into a contract. We can ride in these bodies together and help to keep each other safe while on this planet, while in these bodies. So it went back very far. And it came from I reached out in a state of fear, but more specifically of feeling cut off, feeling disconnected from my spiritual family, from spirit in general, and a feeling abandoned, a sense of abandonment as well, are kind of two of the main themes, two of the main wounds that caused me to reach out to this being. And so we rode together through lifetimes and lifetimes, and in this lifetime, in this very beautiful, powerful time that we're in, was finally able to face it. And when I had that recollection and I remembered why I entered into the contract with this being, then some real facilitation, some change, some shifts started to come about. And I just said to this being, basically, thank you for riding with me, for agreeing to enter into that contract, and for keeping me safe when you did, and for helping us to feel strong and safe when we did, and for all the lessons you had to teach me, and for all the growth that we did together. And I forgive you. I forgive you for any pain and suffering that you've caused me, and I'm sorry if I've ever caused you any pain and suffering. All of these things, and was communicating in this way, and then the being started to kind of shift. There were still some moments right before the end where it was trying to fight, and then it finally kind of surrendered, and then it admitted it. It looked almost like a little innocent, afraid child, and it was saying, I'm scared. I don't know what to do if I don't have you. I don't know where I'll go or where I'll be. And I said, you'll have all of these beautiful angels. Look at all of these gods and goddesses that are here to help you, to protect you, to keep you safe. And the being was saying, but I feel like I have so much anger and rage inside of me. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know if the angels will be able to help me. And that is when Odin stepped in. Odin, the Allfather of the Norse gods. He stepped in, put his hand on the shoulder of this being and said, well, if you've got lots of rage and anger inside of you, you can come with me. And you can come to Valhalla, and you can fight to your heart's content. You get all of that rage out of you. And then when you're ready, you can do some healing with the angels. And then he was like, okay, that sounds good. I think I can agree to that. Through a lot of tears and emotional release as well. And so, that was the big pivotal moment. And then right before this being passed on, it was Odin was the one to walk him through this portal that opened up and to take him into Valhalla. And right before this being turned, right before they left, they turned to me and said, basically apologizing, saying they were sorry for any pain they had caused me, but that they're going to do the work. They're ready to change now, and they want to move on and heal, and eventually become a member of the Alliance of Angels as well, and so that one day we can meet again and we can shake hands and embrace as brothers. And that was very beautiful. It was a very powerful release. So after that healing, I fell asleep immediately. As soon as the healing was over with, I was unconscious, slept for probably like 10 hours after that. Slept for a really long time, woke up, and there was still something. There was still some feeling where I no longer felt like I had this thing inside of me. There was no longer the feeling of the tension or the battle back and forth, but there was something that was still needed facilitation, still needed releasing, and I didn't know what it was. And so I'm going to change my seating position here. And so I reached out to my good friend, fellow Paco, fellow shaman, and powerful, powerful healer, Anthony Smigelski of Positive Pineapple. And I told him we had talked about this kind of thing, that we both needed facilitation around this sort of thing. We both had the awareness. And I said, hey, today, if you're free today, this should be the day that we do this. We should get together and do some facilitation around this. So I went over to his place, and we did some breath work, and we're sitting together. And I kind of explained to him, I told him the story of what I had just told you about what just happened with that entity. So he sat down and he said, So he's just looking into my energy field with his eyes closed, kind of reading. And he said that he said there's an anchor still. So where do you feel it? I pointed to right here at my muhukoya, the seat of my soul, and then also out to the sides. He says, yes, it looks like it's almost like some wide thing, like this little, like a piece of plastic, like smooth kind of looking, and at least in texture. It wasn't actually a piece of plastic, but just kind of smooth in texture and wide, like some kind of like fan wing thing that was anchoring. I said, that is an anchor to that being, and the being is gone, but it kind of left its anchor, almost like when a bee stings you and it kind of leaves its stinger in. The bee's gone, but it's still kind of feeding some of its venom in and causing pain. Not exactly the same thing, but that's a good analogy for kind of what that was like energetically. And so he facilitated this really powerful healing where he actually called, and I was having problems with my foot as well. So he had a line from my Pakarina, my nature mother, Suyunusta Lake Erie, the globally recognized nature spirit of Lake Erie. And he had an energetic line, like a wire, a tube of connection between me and Lake Erie to my foot, and I was facilitating some change around the foot. But then through that line from Lake Erie, all of these tiny little energetic fish came up and into that space, and they started eating away at this anchor that was left there. They were eating it up, and traveling all throughout my body, other little areas where there were pockets of cellular memory and trauma stored, and they were just eating and eating and eating it. And then he said that they started to poop out gold and fill in like a mortar. They were so, and this is something in the Pakukuna tradition. We have huchamikwi, where a being can eat heavy energy, eat hucha or something like that, and transmute it back into light. And so that was what these beings were doing. But the way it presented visually was that they were eating away at the stuff that was stuck there, and they were pooping out gold and laying like a mortar to sit in that area to kind of fill it in. And after that, after the whole healing that Tony facilitated was over, I just had this sense of, first thing I noticed is it was like, oh, I could breathe so much more freely in there. I felt so much more open, and everything felt soft. My whole body and energy field, everything felt soft and smooth flowing. Everything felt so smooth and felt beautiful. And then he actually started to have a vision. As we were sitting there after we facilitated this, he had a vision of a particular, I won't go into the whole story, but a particularly powerful traumatic event that happened to me in this lifetime that I never told him about. But he started describing it to me in great detail, exactly as it is in my memory. And then he asked me, have you had a soul retrieval for this yet? I said, no, not for that wound. And he said, this is a particularly powerful wound that like really caused a big fracture in your energy field. And so we're going to do a soul retrieval for that. So he called on Waskarinka, the guardian of the Uhupacha, guardian of the lower world. And Waskar came, and he asked if it was time for those soul fragments to come back, and it was. And so I received this powerful soul retrieval. Then we were working with the various elements, Mother Water, Mother Earth, Father Sun, Father Wind, and Mother Moon, and working with our chumpy belts, these belts of energy that flow around the body to help integrate them. And I just felt so free, so good after that. It was really, really powerful, very beautiful. But as beautiful and powerful and pivotally freeing and healing as this was, it's not like you experience a healing like that and it's over and you're done and all of your healing is out of the way and you're just free now and perfect. In the days since, it's been pretty intense integrating this, bringing in these old pieces of me, removing these things. There have been some major shifts, and it's been challenging to integrate this for sure. There have been moments where I've had some anxiety that I really had to work through, but it's been powerful because in the past, if I had anxiety that came up, I have been an escapist. In some way, I would try to run away from it, even though I know that I need to face it. And this time, I felt like there was nothing holding me back, or not forcing me, but encouraging me to escape. And so I went and I was able to just do huchamikwi, all kinds of things, breath work and samachakui, and really move all of the heaviness and transmute. And I've had a day yesterday where there was actually like a lot of depression and things I was working through. But then through talking and through working with spirit and some powerful exercises that I was doing, I was able to really kind of transmute that as well, and felt a huge shift, and woke up today and felt very inspired and wanted to come on here and share this stuff with you guys. The world of spirit is just so incredibly magical, beautiful, and powerful. And sometimes all we know, or all we're aware of is, I feel kind of off. Maybe I feel a little anxious, or I feel a little depressed, or something like that. There could be so much more going on in spirit, and you don't need to figure it all out for yourself. If you are a shaman or you're deep into spiritual work, that's great. You can investigate and learn and facilitate powerful change around it. But you can also leave it up to someone who has a lot more experience with it, and reach out to your local shaman or whoever you trust to help facilitate this kind of healing. And it can be very, very powerful. So it is just so beautiful to me how incredible and complex and intricate the interactions I have with spirit are, and my remembering, and just the things I'm able to remember about my past and the realizations I have. And it does bring more understanding as to why we are certain ways, and why we act certain ways and do certain things. And it's very powerful, and it can be very healing. But for some people, now for me, going through this, I know not to get caught up in the mind, not to overthink every little thing about the experience. Because if you do, you can end up, causing yourself more anxiety than you need to. I was able to go through all this, recall all this, have this powerful experience, and then just drop into feeling, integrating, working through things and feeling, but not overthinking all of the events of what had occurred. Having said that, this is beautiful. This is the first time I've shared anything like this publicly. And I hope that this reaches the people that it's meant to reach. I know it will. I have faith that it will. And this will help to bring some maybe understanding, or even cause you to seek out the help that you need, because so many people suffer. So many people suffer every day from mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and they may have no idea why. And just to know that there is a way to free yourself of these things. It is possible to heal, even from things that some people tell you can never heal from. Some people will tell you anxiety is just something you're going to suffer with forever. You're always going to be depressed unless you take medications and all of this. And sometimes taking medications and all of these things are beautiful. They can be a necessary step in our healing and all of that. But there are alternatives as well. There are alternatives out there. There are ways to face your trauma, ways to face the discomfort that you feel that you may not understand. And this isn't to say also that it's always entity attachments that is the source of anxiety, depression, or any of this stuff. We're such complicated beings, and not complicated, but complex. We're such complex beings, and you have to remember that before you came here to Earth, you were a spiritual being who has probably been around for eternity, because we are all eternal. So you may have many, many wounds, eons worth of wounds that you need to heal from. And it doesn't have to take eons to heal them. We're in a very powerful time here where healing can be very rapid. But just knowing that there are ways to face these things it can be very comforting. So I'm hoping that sharing this with you guys will help in some way. So if anyone has any questions about anything I've been talking about this whole time, or anything like that, please leave a comment and just let me know. Otherwise, I think it might be nice to end the video with just a short round of relaxed breathing, just to kind of set the tone for the rest of the day, evening, morning, whenever you're watching. That might be really nice. So we'll do some breathing, and then if there's any comments, I'll respond to the comments as well. But we're just going to do really relaxed, just in through the nose and out through the mouth, nice and slow. So if this is something you're interested in, let's do a little bit of breathing. You can even do this even if you're on the go, if you're at work or whatever you're doing. This one you can just do really silently, really softly to yourself, and be very comforting and relaxing, and just help to bring us down into a space of more peace and stillness. Breathe along with me now, starting in through the nose and out through the mouth, very soft and gentle. 3 more. Take a nice deep breath in and hold at the top. If you can, stretch your body tall and slowly exhale. Sinking down into the body and feeling the shift in the way that your body feels now compared to before that short round of breathing, allowing yourself a moment of peace, of stillness, enjoying this moment right here, right now, however it shows up for you. Being present, allowing yourself to connect to your body, to connect to the sensations around you and within you, and enjoying it. Saying yes and thank you to your experience. I would like to say to all of you, oh, before I do that, if you are in the Cleveland area, this Sunday, May 22nd, at I believe it's 4 p.m. at Old Brooklyn Nutrition, there is a community healing event that Anthony Smigelski, Mary Bainline, I always pronounce her last name incorrectly, and so the Positive Pineapple and I will be doing at Old Brooklyn Nutrition, 4 p.m. Sunday, the 22nd, this Sunday, and they're very powerful events, powerful breath work and shamanic healing that happens. So if you're interested in that, please attend, please show up, and just be open for a beautiful, powerful healing experience. Otherwise, subscribe to this channel, share the video, get the word out there so that I can help to bring more coherence, more healing and understanding, and spread the magic of spirituality and healing to as many people as possible. Let's do this. I love you all so much. A Nike Kuyaiki Arpichai Sonkolai.